Forget the refreshing bubbles and the celebrity ads. Today, we're performing a clinical autopsy on the $150 billion liquid oligopoly. We're not just looking at who sells the most sugar water. We're measuring capital efficiency, debt-fueled hangovers, and the brutal reality of who's actually printing cash versus who's just shuffling paper. Welcome to the 2026 HDIN Strategic Audit. It's high-octane consulting logic meets the cold, hard math of survival. This isn't a marketing pitch. It's a balance sheet battle royale where the weak get swallowed and the lean stay mean. Before we dive into the blood and guts of the numbers, we need a map of the battlefield. This is the SCQA landscape. Situation, complication, question, and answer. Think of it as the pre-game show, before the actual tactical strike. We are setting the stage for why the beverage industry is currently undergoing its biggest identity crisis since the invention of the aluminum can. If you don't understand the context, you're just looking at pretty charts while your market share evaporates. The top 5 players in this industry control $150 billion in revenue. That's enough to buy a brand new Tesla for every single resident of New York City and still have change for a private space program. Coca-Cola sits at the throne with $47.9 billion, maintaining a 100% pure-play beverage focus. While Pepsi and Nestle might look bigger on paper, their attention is divided between potato chips and dog food. In the beverage world, focus is a superpower. However, the party is slowing down. 2025 showed us a volume plateau that feels like hitting a brick wall at 60 miles per hour. The giants aren't growing by selling more bottles. They're growing by making you pay more for the ones you already buy. Here is the glitch in the matrix. Volume is dying. PepsiCo's beverage segment took a 2% hit in volume last year. When the world stops drinking more of your product, you have a complication with a capital C. The industry is currently trapped on a price hike treadmill, running faster just to stay in the same place. Over 80% of last year's growth was pure price elasticity testing. It's like trying to squeeze juice out of a stone. Eventually, the stone cracks. The moat is eroding as functional startups, those tiny sharks in the water, start nibbling at the edges of the giant's market share. How do you win when the market stalls? You become a ghost. Coca-Cola's refranchising strategy has turned them into an asset-light phantom. They've offloaded the heavy, soul-crushing labor of bottling to others, focusing instead on high-margin concentrates. The result? A staggering $727,500 in revenue per employee. That's 5.8 times more efficient than the industry average. While Nestle is lugging around a massive workforce to manage chocolate bars, Coke is a lean, mean, concentrate shipping machine. It's the difference between owning the entire restaurant and just owning the secret recipe for the sauce. Let's strip away the fluff and look at the beverage-only core. When we normalize the data, Coca-Cola is the undisputed heavyweight at nearly $48 billion. Pepsi's beverage heart beats at $39.4 billion, and Nestle's liquid segment follows at $34 billion. This chart isn't just about size, it's about right to play. If you aren't clearing $10 billion in this game, you aren't a player. You're a target for acquisition. It's a game of scale where being pretty big is just a slow way to fail. The West is saturated. The future is being written in Asia-Pacific. While North America still pays the bills, the battle for the next $10 billion is happening in the APAC region. Following UN standards, we look at the Greater China footprint as a single, massive engine for supply chain synergy. Suntory already gets 66% of its vibe from this region. For the others, if you don't win in the East, you're essentially managing a sunset business in the West. APAC isn't just a market. It's the industry's life support system for the next decade. Where did the growth come from? Spoiler alert. It wasn't from people getting thirstier. As this area chart shows, growth is increasingly price mix driven. Coke and Pepsi both saw 4% gains strictly through pricing power. Only Keurig Dr. Pepper managed a 4.8% volume jump, but that was mostly by buying their way in through the Ghost acquisition. Relying on price hikes for growth is like using credit cards to pay for a lifestyle you can't afford. It works until the interest rates, or consumer patience, destroy you. Let's talk about the meat. Coca-Cola's 61.6% gross margin is essentially a license to print money. Compare that to Suntory's 37.4%. Why the gap? Because Coke sells ideas and concentrate, while others are busy moving heavy glass bottles and managing warehouses. High margins are the only thing that protects you when inflation comes knocking. In a price war, the guy with the 61% margin can afford to bleed. The guy with 37% just dies. It's the difference between flying first class and being stuck in the cargo hold. Profits are an opinion. Cash is a fact. Suntory is the surprise MVP here, with a cash conversion ratio of 1.8. For every dollar of paper profit, they actually pull in $1.80 in real cash through elite working capital discipline. Coca-Cola, on the other hand, is looking a bit dehydrated at 0.56, mostly thanks to a $6 billion tax dispute with the IRS. It's a reminder that even the biggest giants can get tripped up by a legal black swan. Suntory is running a tight ship, while Coke is currently writing some very large checks to the taxman. Where is the money going? It's not going into more sugar. It's going into silicon and sustainability. From Nestlé's digital factory rollouts in Asia to KDP's plastic-free coffee pods, the industry is trying to cyber FY its way out of the plastic crisis. CAPEX is no longer about just building pipes. It's about building data-driven ecosystems. If your factory isn't talking to your AI inventory system by Q3, you're basically running a 19th century workshop in a 21st century war zone. M&A is like drinking tequila. It feels great at the time, but the hangover is inevitable. Keurig Dr. Pepper is currently nursing a serious headache with a debt-to-EBITDA ratio of 3.49 following their latest acquisition spree. They are dancing on the edge of a credit rating downgrade. In a world of high interest rates, carrying this much weight makes you slow and vulnerable. Coke's 2.14 ratio looks like a model of sobriety by comparison. Remember, in a recession, debt isn't just a number, it's an anchor that pulls you under. What keeps the sharks away? It's the triple moat: brand equity, distribution depth, and digital integration. If you can raise prices without losing customers, that's your brand equity moat. If you own the trucks that put the bottles on the shelf, that's your distribution moat. And if you have the app data to know exactly when a customer is thirsty, that's your digital moat. Most companies have one. The winners have all three. If you lack all three, you're not a business. You're an eventual liquidation sale. Let's zoom into Greater China. This isn't just a market. It's a digital laboratory. The O2O, online to offline penetration here, is 40% higher than the global average. While the West is still figuring out QR codes, China is running entire supply chains on real-time consumer data. Suntory's oolong tea success proves that zero sugar isn't a trend. It's the new baseline. In this theater, if you're not moving at the speed of an algorithm, you're already standing still. What keeps CEOs awake at 3 a.m.? The triple threat of regulation, climate, and shifting tastes. Between the $14 billion IRS bill for Coke and the global expansion of sugar taxes, the legal landscape is a minefield. Then there's the plastic problem. Our PET supply is tighter than a drum. Finally, the CSD decay is real. Gen Z isn't drinking soda, they're drinking functional wellness tonics. The giants are trying to turn their battleships, but the sea is getting very rough. It's a race to adapt before the old core simply evaporates. So what's the final verdict? The beverage giants of 2026 are no longer just selling liquids. They are high-tech data firms disguised as soda companies. Success is no longer measured by how many gallons you move, but by how much capital efficiency you can squeeze out of every drop. The industry has evolved from a volume game to a margin and data game. If you're still playing by the old rules, you're not just behind, you're extinct. If you want the full-page deep dive on how these companies are restructuring for a post-sugar world, you know where to find us. Drop a comment below on who you think wins the efficiency war of 2026. For the full institutional report, email our desk at sales@hdinresearch.com or hit the link in the description. Don't forget to follow at HDIN230 for more logic-driven audits. Class dismissed.